So you've done the self-help and you've dipped into some personal development, but now you ask the question, now what? What can you do? Well, if you want to escape the apathy, step right this way. So twice a year, I teach a course called AUTONOMY. It's a 12-week personal development and training course. What people get out of it is multifaceted. There's curriculum, there's exercises, there's camaraderie, you make new friends. There's a whole lot of interesting things. We're going to hear a sample from the course right now, and let's take a look at the value these students are getting. All right, so since everyone's back in the room now, welcome. And we'll get to your experiences in a second. But the idea is there was an all-star superpower summit in the people that didn't participate in the rooms. And so let me tie it back to last week's lecture. I gave you guys a couple slides on the wisdom of this guy, Jim Rohn, R-O-H-N. And he's got a lot of good stuff. I'm not a fan of the sales stuff that he does, because it was more the old style type of stuff. But the goal setting, the discipline aspects that he talked about in his lectures back in the day, those are still just as true today as they were back then, right? So they're these essential evergreen chunks of wisdom that integrate into successful people's operating systems. So the first choice that we encounter is, before you're getting into this course, you're thinking, I got to make a living, right? Instead of, as Rohn would put it, you need to design your life. Instead of making a living, design your life. And then your life, it's going to be a vision of you in the future, right? So this future you is going to possess certain qualities, aspects, call them superpowers, that you've refined, these extremely high value skill sets, right? And is in possession of those and can use them adeptly. So in order to design that future, you're going to have to drop the baggage of the past, right? The baggage of the past is the gravity that holds us down. At the end of the last lecture, it was about how to escape that gravity and orbit success. Well, you drop the negative self-talk, these other things that hold you tied to the past, and you attach yourself to your vision in the future. And you do that through reasons. So you're going to have 5 common senses that you observe the world with. And then you're going to use your powers of reason to make judgments or goals, decisions, right, about your future. So it's all goals. Start with reason. And then the reason is the general, and the goal becomes the specific. So the reason is subjective, but the goal turns into objective through action. So there has to be this connection between the subjective and the objective. So you start with reason, then you formulate your goals, and the goals end up becoming like magnets that pull you into the future. Cinematic reference, there's a movie called Black Panther. They have this maglev train, and the train is pulled forward at this super high speed by magnets kind of operating in front of it, right? So as it comes closer, the magnet comes in, it sucks the train forward, but then it moves back to let the train keep getting sucked forward. Those types of goals and those action plans and those project plans and your long-term goals blending into your short-term on the runway actions every week. That's how you tie together the dream into your reality through harnessing the dream, projectizing it, and putting it in an action plan, around which you make goals. And so now you've got this maglev train metaphor pulling you toward your future self, and away, escaping the gravity of the indoctrination school-formed self. And all that you bring with you is that which works from that world. And you can leave the rest of that garbage behind about learned helplessness, provisional self-esteem, scarcity mentality, all those gravity things that want to keep you attached to their way of thinking. And the solutions are out here. When you break through that gravity, you can consistently make goals. You can orbit your success. You can get to where you want to go, and then along that way, the future self is out there, right? You're working toward it. What's between here and there is a bunch of unknowns. That's where you need your faith, your belief. So it doesn't need to be invested in external things other than you and your relationship with yourself. That's where faith and belief should be used. And faith is what's going to help you move forward even when you can't see the path, right? Because you have reasons attached to your goals, and that's enough for you to have faith in yourself to move forward toward that, right? So faith is the ability to see things that don't exist but will eventually exist through your planned actions, is the way I think that Rohn would have like phrased it. So that concept of, oh, I don't have goals and I have no direction. I'm just kind of like afloat. And that's most people, right? Because myself included, I don't know that I have like my top 5 goals written out specifically, because I'm in the process of like working all these things like full time all the time. So I don't always take times to write them out. I keep a lot more stuff probably in my head than I should. And maybe that's one of the ways I can improve, is like getting more of this stuff out, because my theory has always been it makes my brain stronger to like keep it internal and like to keep it kinetic and interactive. But I also know that I get as I get older and as I do more things, my memory might not be as sharp in some of those areas moving forward. Like 20 years from now, am I going to remember what I meant about this? Or should I actually write it down like in my journal or my project plan or what have you, right? So there's that aspect that we all still have something to work on no matter what level we're at. And if we're conscious of what we need to work on, that's good. We'll get to it. You know, if it needs to be done sooner, we'll get to it. But it's the real aid is when people don't see those things, and then you can bring them to their attention. They're like, oh, that's the thing. I just need to do that. And then all these other things click, right? So from not having goals, not having direction, not having mobility, not having momentum, all these things, like that's a tough situation. But let's just call that starting point. That's you on the starting blocks. You haven't got to try yet. And then once you push off and you start to move and you're trying, then it seems like, oh, this is not so hard. Like the hardest part is waiting for the starting bell to go off, or the starting firing, go off to symbolize like the beginning of the race. So there's a lot of people still waiting because they didn't hear the firing shot. They didn't hear the start of the race, and they're still in their starting blocks and they're cramping up and they're like, why am I here? It's like, okay, you need a goal. You need to run towards something, anything. And if you don't have a goal, it could just be like, I'm going to suck the value out of this course. I'm going to show up every time and participate, do whatever, right? That could just be a goal. And then that gets you to more goals. Because when you can do that, you're like, oh, I could actually set some goals and have a chance of achieving them now. I'm not scared to set goals anymore, because that also holds people back, right? The fear of, what if I pick a future me, that I'm working toward, that's not the thing. Welcome to the game. We all got to deal with that. And on top of that, in addition to us not being able to like rapidly, consistently form goals and achieve them, which is like the state of motion we should all be able to enjoy as much as we want. In the midst of that, right, we don't have goals. We got some work to do. In the midst of that, all our goals depend on predictability of the future. Our future is super unpredictable right now. How exciting is that? So should that make us say, well, I'm not going to play this game. It's rigged. I can't make goals and consistently achieve them in this type of environment. What are you going to do, man? You can't leave. Like, we got to play this game. So that's part of the level of difficulty that we have reached, that we have to attempt to make goals, 5-year plan, 10-year plan for ourselves, and not even know if we're going to need to have some sort of injection to get food in the future in the status quo terrarium world. So we got other things. Now we got good motivation. You want to attain freedom? We're going to need to maybe have some of our own food supply on our own property or within friend network, collaboration, co-op, anything like that, right? We're going to have to start thinking out of the box. We're going to need to bring to bear almost all the skills that we're learning in this course every day in every way, because they're going to keep raising the level of difficulty. And you don't want to be the one who says, I don't know how to go make my offer to the market. I have no skills and I can't pay the bills, keep the kids fed, whatever the situation is, right? Because from there, it becomes very hard. You get a lot of your choices removed for you. You get forced into doing something, to make a living, because your design for a life isn't being applied. Not that it wouldn't have worked, but rather you never tried. That's the tough situation. So I think anything other than that is easy. Being forced into doing stuff you don't want with your time all the time, to be underappreciated, like that's the hard thing. That's the hard part. Going through life not knowing how to raise money to pay bills or, pay for things that come up, funerals, other things that are really expensive that are unplanned for, sometimes other people don't plan for. Those are part of life's stresses. So they're never going to get lighter or go away. I think we have to rise to the occasion and strengthen ourselves. And strengthen ourselves isn't just learning it between our ears, but putting it out through our actions and doing that around other people doing likewise, because that's where you get that synergy of the group mindset of coming together to build solutions that are more than the sum of their parts. So now, with that being said, let's talk about what you guys did in those breakout rooms, because that was the gist. Your superpowers, how can you have a little mastermind group? Because the sum of the parts can be exceeded in situations just like what you did right there. Who's got something to share?
Having the freedom to be in control of my time and my workload has always been really important to me. So I took autonomy and I got some high value skills that'll let me work anywhere at any time. I got the skills that'll let me overcome the problems and challenges that come up in my day-to-day life. And I overcame my fear and my self-doubt, so I'm not procrastinating anymore. You can take your scarcity mindset and switch it out for an abundance mindset at getautonomy.info. Check it out today.